I never thought a single brush of fingers could shatter everything I'd built. My career, my sanity, the walls I'd erected around my heart since med school. But there he was, Cameron Hayes, my 20-year-old patient, his hand trembling as it grazed mine during what should have been a routine checkup, his blue eyes pleading for something I couldn't name. In that instant, the sterile hum of the exam room faded, and I felt the ground tilt beneath me, pulling me into a forbidden gravity I had no map to navigate. The fluorescent lights buzzed like a swarm of accusations overhead, but all I could hear was the ragged edge of his breath, confessing secrets I'd sworn to keep buried. "Dr. Joseph," he whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. "I can't pretend anymore. Not with you. My name is Dr. Joseph Harlan, and for the past 8 years, I've been a psychiatrist in the bustling heart of Manhattan, where the skyline scrapes the heavens and secrets fester like untreated wounds. At 35, I'd long since traded the chaos of my own youth for the measured rhythm of white coats and clipboards, building a life as unyielding as the steel girders of the Empire State Building. My practice on East 72nd Street catered to the city's elite, CEOs unraveling under boardroom pressure, artists chasing ghosts in their canvases, and the occasional lost soul like Cameron, who wandered in off the streets of Brooklyn with eyes that held storms no amount of therapy could calm. It started innocently enough, or so I told myself. Cameron was referred to me by a colleague at Mount Sinai after a string of ER visits for what the records called anxiety-induced panic attacks. He was 20, a junior at NYU studying film, with that effortless Brooklyn grit masking a fragility that tugged at something deep in my chest. His file painted a picture of a kid adrift, parents divorced when he was 12, a mother lost to opioids in the suburbs of Jersey, a father who sent checks but no calls. He'd grown up in foster homes, bouncing between Queens and the Lower East Side, scraping by on scholarships and odd jobs as a barista. But it was his intake interview that hooked me, not professionally, God no, but personally, in a way that made my pulse stutter. He sat across from me that first Tuesday in October, legs jittering like he was wired to a live current, his faded band, tee, clinging to a frame too lean for his height. 6'1", I noted clinically, with tousled dark hair that fell into eyes the color of Lake Michigan on a stormy day. "I keep dreaming about fire," he said without preamble, his voice low and accented with that flat-voweled New York drawl. "Not burning, just watching it consume everything. My stuff, my friends, me. And I wake up feeling like I deserve it." We talked for an hour about triggers, coping mechanisms, the SSRIs I'd prescribe if he agreed. He did, nodding with that half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. But as he stood to leave, his hand brushed the edge of my desk, and our fingers collided. It was nothing, a fleeting spark, the kind you dismiss as static from the wool carpet. Except his gaze lingered, a question hanging unspoken in the air between us. "Thanks, Doc," he murmured, and something in the way he said it, soft and searching, made my throat tighten. I pushed it down. Of course. Ethics 101. Boundaries are sacred. I'd learned that the hard way in residency, after a crush on a fellow intern ended in HR paperwork and a transfer to another rotation. Love, or whatever masquerades as it in the pressure cooker of medicine, has no place in the consulting room. So I buried it under case notes and coffee runs, telling myself Cameron was just another patient, his vulnerabilities a professional puzzle to solve. Sessions blurred into weeks. Mondays at 3 p.m. became our ritual, him slouched in the leather armchair, me perched on the edge of my desk, probing gently at the edges of his trauma. He opened up in fragments, stories of high school bullies who called him Fairy after catching him sketching boys instead of girls in his notebook. The foster dad in Astoria who drank too much and hit too hard. The ex-boyfriend from freshman year who ghosted him after a coming-out fight that left Cameron with a split lip and a shattered phone. I thought he loved me, Cameron confessed one rainy afternoon, rain lashing the windows like judgment from the gods. But turns out, I'm just a mistake he needed to forgive himself for. My responses were textbook, empathy without entanglement, validation without vulnerability. That sounds incredibly painful, I'd say, jotting notes to keep my hands busy. But inside, his words clawed at me. I'd come out at 22, during a kegger at Dartmouth, kissing a lacrosse player under the stadium bleachers while the crowd roared for touchdowns. It was messy, exhilarating, a declaration that set my conservative Ohio family in a freefall. My dad stopped speaking to me for 2 years. Mom sent Bible verses via email until I blocked her. I'd armored up since then, channeling every ounce of that raw ache into my work. Patients like Cameron, they were mirrors, reflecting the boy I'd buried beneath board certifications and Brooks Brothers suits. By mid-November, the air in the city had turned crisp, laced with the scent of pretzels from street vendors and the faint rot of fallen leaves. Cameron arrived late to our session, soaked from a downpour, his hoodie dripping onto the Persian rug. Sorry, he gasped, peeling it off to reveal a thermal that hugged his shoulders like a second skin. I averted my eyes, busying myself with his chart. Rough day on set, I asked, referring to his student film project he'd mentioned, a gritty short about queer kids in the projects. Worse. My director bailed. Said the script's too queer for festivals. Like, what the hell does that even mean? His laugh was bitter, edged with that fire he dreamed of. We delved into it. The rejection, the fear of being unlovable, the way art felt like his only tether to sanity. As the clock ticked toward 4, he leaned forward, elbows on knees, and fixed me with a stare that stripped away the room's pretenses. You get it, don't you, Joseph? Not Dr. Harlan, the real you. I see it in how you listen. Like you've been burned too. The use of my first name hit like a slap. Protocol shattered. Cameron, I started, voice steady despite the heat rising in my neck. That's not. But he was already standing, crossing the space between us in 2 strides. His hand reached out, not to shake, but to touch, fingers grazing the back of mine where it rested on the armrest. Time fractured. His skin was warm, calloused from camera grips and late-night edits. And in that graze, I felt the echo of every unspoken longing I'd ever known. The line blurred, not with a crash, but a whisper, doctor dissolving into man, patient into equal. I pulled back first, heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. We can't, I said, the words tasting like ash. His face crumpled, confusion flickering to hurt, then resolve. Why? Because of some oath? Or because you're scared? He grabbed his bag, slinging it over his shoulder with a force that rattled the diplomas on the wall. Forget it. I thought you were different. The door slammed behind him, echoing down the empty hallway. I sat there until the cleaning crew arrived, staring at the spot where his hand had been, the ghost of warmth mocking me. That night, in my 1-bedroom on the Upper West Side, I poured a scotch and scrolled his Instagram, candid shots of graffiti-splashed alleys, moody self-portraits in black and white. One post, from 2 years back, him at Pride, rainbow flag draped like a cape. Caption reading, out and proud. Even when it hurts, my thumb hovered over the follow button, then retreated. Boundaries. Joseph. Always boundaries. But sleep evaded me, chased by what-ifs. What if I leaned in? What if the fire in his dreams was mine to tend? By morning, resolve hardened. I'd refer him out. Clean break. Professional. Safe. Except when he showed up the next Monday. Unannounced. Eyes red-rimmed and shadowed. Bag slung low like it carried the weight of the world. I almost jumped, he said flatly, collapsing into the chair. From the Brooklyn Bridge. Last night. Thought about you the whole way down. The room spun. Suicidal ideation, red flags everywhere. I canceled my afternoon, called in a social worker, dosed him with Ativan from the sample drawer. As he drifted into uneasy sleep on the couch, I paced, phone in hand, debating the ethics board hotline. This wasn't just blurred lines, it was a chasm, and we were both teetering on the edge. When he woke, groggy and grateful, his hand found mine again, this time deliberate, squeezing with a desperation that broke something in me. "Don't let go," he murmured. And God help me, I didn't. That was the fracture. From there, the fault lines spiderwebbed, cracking open secrets neither of us could contain. Cameron's fire wasn't just in his dreams. It was in him, raging, and I was the fool who thought I could hold it without burning. Over the next 2 weeks, our sessions morphed into something illicit, a dance of half-confessions and stolen glances. I'd lock the door at 3:05, citing confidentiality, but really to buy us time. We'd talk, not about pathology, but poetry, Kerouac's Road, trips mirroring his Foster shuttles. Baldwin's essays on love as rebellion echoing my own closeted undergrad years. He'd sketch on my notepad while I pretended to review notes, quick lines capturing the curve of my jaw or the furrow in my brow. "You're beautiful when you're thinking," he'd say, and I'd laugh it off, even as my chest ached with the truth of it. But guilt gnawed at me like termites in old wood. Every laugh, every lingering look, was a violation of my license. His trust, the Hippocratic vow etched into my soul. I'd lie awake in my apartment, the city lights bleeding through blinds like accusatory eyes, replaying the oaths I'd sworn. First, do no harm, yet here I was, harming us both by pretending this was therapy. Cameron sensed it, the tension coiling like a spring. One session, as snow dusted the fire escapes outside, he confronted me head-on. "You're pulling away, Joseph. I can feel it. What's the secret? Got a wife stashed in Connecticut? Kids who think daddy's a hero?" The question landed like a gut punch. No wife. No kids, but secrets? Plenty. I hadn't told him about Mark, my ex from residency, the one who'd cheated with a surgical resident and left me hollowed out, vowing never to risk my heart again. Or about the family schism, the annual Harlan Thanksgiving where my sister Emily was the only one who still texted, whispering, "He's coming around. Joey. Give Dad time. Time." As if love had an expiration date. "It's not that," I said finally, voice rough. "It's everything. It's wrong. I'm your doctor. You're vulnerable. If anyone found out," his eyes flashed, that Brooklyn steel surfacing. "Vulnerable? Screw that. I'm choosing this. Choosing you." He stood, closing the distance, his breath mingling with mine in the charged space. For a heartbeat, I thought he'd kiss me, hell. I wanted him to. The pull magnetic. Inevitable. But he stopped short, foreheads touching, a dam holding back the flood. "Tell me you don't feel it too." I couldn't lie. Not to him. "I do. God. Cameron. More than I should." We didn't cross that final line, not then. But the dam cracked, and the waters seeped through, pooling in texts after hours. "Missed your voice today. Dreamed of that park we talked about, running through leaves. No past chasing us." I'd reply from bed, phone glow illuminating my doubts, each word a step deeper into the abyss. Then came the betrayal I never saw coming. It started with a knock at 2 a.m. Cameron on my doorstep, face pale as the snow-slicked stoop. "My dad's here," he whispered, voice trembling. "In the city. Wants to meet. Says he's clean now. Wants to make amends." I pulled him inside. Brew coffee laced with whiskey against every rule. But rules be damned. He paced my living room, that sketch pad clutched like a shield, spilling the story. Robert Hayes, the absentee father who'd funded his tuition from afar but vanished after the divorce. Now, post-rehab in Philly, he was knocking, literally, on Cameron's dorm door with promises and a duffel of regrets. "Go," I urged, though every instinct screamed to shield him. "Hear him out. You deserve that closure." He did, the next day. And when he returned to session, our sessions now a fragile fiction, he was a ghost of himself. "He knows," Cameron said, voice hollow. "About me. About us." Saw a text on my phone while I was in the bathroom. "Your name, the Hearts. Call me a disgrace." Said he'd cut me off unless I fixed myself. Rage boiled in me. Hot and unprofessional. That son of a... But Cameron cut me off, tears carving tracks down his cheeks. He offered to pay for conversion therapy. In Texas. Like I'm some glitch to debug. He laughed. A broken sound. I told him to go to hell. But now, tuition's due. And I can't, Joseph. I can't lose this. NYU's all I have. The room closed in, the weight of his despair crushing. I made the decision in a haze. I'll help. Loan you the money. No strings. It was madness, financial entanglement on top of emotional, but seeing him unravel, that fire dimming to embers. I couldn't stand by. He refused at first, pride flaring. "I won't be your charity case." "It's not charity," I insisted, grasping his hands, another line crossed. "But necessary. It's love." The word hung there, first spoken aloud. Love. Terrifying, exhilarating, American as apple pie and forbidden fruit. He searched my face, then nodded, collapsing against me in a hug that blurred every boundary left. We held on, the city humming indifferently below, two men adrift in a sea of should-nots. That night, I wired the funds from my savings, the nest egg for that cabin in the Adirondacks I'd never buy. Guilt whispered, but hope shouted louder. Maybe this was redemption, not ruin. Maybe we could rewrite the script. Foolish optimism. The real fracture was just beginning. December descended on Manhattan like a velvet curtain, blanketing the streets in twinkling lights and forced cheer, the kind that masks the loneliness of holiday crowds. Cameron and I navigated our secret with the caution of fugitives, meeting in stolen slivers of time, coffee at a hole in the wall in Chelsea, walks along the High Line where the Hudson's chill wind whipped our excuses away. We'd talk for hours, hands brushing under tables, eyes tracing paths words couldn't. He showed me his latest edit, a short film about a boy who builds a raft from regrets, sailing toward an uncertain shore. "That's you," he said, pointing to the protagonist's shadowed profile. Strong, but scared of the waves. I laughed, but it stung. Scared? Terrified. Every ding on my phone was a potential siren, ethics complaints, patient breaches. I'd started double-checking locks, deleting texts mid-conversation, even avoiding the hospital cafeteria where colleagues might spot the flush on my cheeks. Mark's ghost haunted me too, his betrayal a scar that itched. "You're too intense." Joe. Doctors don't get happy endings. Was this mine? Or just another setup for heartbreak? Cameron's father lingered like a specter, his threats echoing in late-night voicemails Cameron played on speaker, voice trembling. "Think about your future. Cam. This phase, it's not you. Real men don't. The rest dissolved into static. But the damage stuck. Cameron withdrew, his sketches turning darker, jagged lines of bridges and flames. Figures reaching but never touching. "He's right. Isn't he?" he'd murmured during our walks, breath fogging the air. "I'm broken. That's why no one stays." I'd stop us under a string of lights. "Cup his face, God. That face." All sharp angles and soft pleas, and counter with truths I'd hoarded like contraband. "You're not broken. You're surviving. And I'm here, aren't I?" He'd lean in, forehead to mine, and for those moments, the world shrank to us, two queers against the concrete jungle, rewriting isolation into intimacy. But secrets breed shadows, and ours cast long ones. It started small, a missed session when Cameron's roommate walked in on him crying over my photo on his phone. "Who's the silver fox?" the guy joked. But Cameron's panic was palpable, spilling into our next talk. Then my sister Emily called, her voice bright from Cleveland. "Joey, Dad's asking about you. Come home for Christmas. Bring someone, anyone, to show him you're stable." Stable. The word curdled. Elite. Said I was swamped with patience. Hung up with her disappointment ringing in my ears. The real storm brewed in early January, when the city thawed into slushy gray days. Cameron's film premiered at a student showcase in Tribeca, his magnum opus. Ember's Edge, a raw tale of forbidden love between a street artist and a cop. Veiled enough to pass as fiction, but laced with our truths. I shouldn't have gone. Anonymity was key. But pride swelled, irrational and fierce. So I bought a ticket under a fake name. Slipped in late, wearing a beanie and glasses like some bad spy novel. The theater was packed with NYU kids, hipsters nursing IPAs, the air thick with weed and ambition. Cameron's film unspooled on screen, flickering shots of graffiti under Brooklyn bridges, tender glances in dive bars, a climax where the lovers clash, betrayal via a leaked photo, forcing a choice between duty and desire. The cop, played by a lanky actor with my jawline, whispers, "I can't save you if I can't save myself." My throat closed. It was us, projected for all to see. Applause thundered as credits rolled. Cameron taking the stage, flushed and beaming under the spots. "This is for the ones who burn bright," he said, voice steady. "Even when the world's trying to snuff you out." Eyes scanned the crowd, landing on me in the back row. His smile widened, a private flare, and I felt exposed. Electric. After, in a lobby, he found me by the coat check. "You came." His hug was fierce, unheeding of the milling crowd. Whispers rippled, curious glances from his classmates. "Who's that?" someone muttered. Cameron pulled back, grinning. "My muse." We escaped to a nearby diner, neon buzzing over greasy booths, devouring fries like conspirators. "It was amazing," I said, meaning it. "You captured the ache, the hope amid the hurt." He blushed, rare for him, and stole a fry from my plate, our knees knocking under the table. "Couldn't have without you." "That night on your couch, when I almost jumped, you pulled me back, guilt twisted anew." "But the money, forget it. It's a loan between friends." "Friends." The word chafed, too small for the swell in my chest. As we walked out into the sleet, arms linked against the wind, he stopped under a street lamp, pulling me close. "Joseph." A car horn blared, shattering the moment. We sprang apart, laughing nervously, but the interruption lingered like frost. That night, alone, I Googled ethics violations, revocation, lawsuits, the end of everything. Yet sleep brought dreams of his film, of us on that raft, drifting free. The misunderstanding detonated 2 days later. I was in rounds at the clinic, reviewing charts, Well, my receptionist buzzed. "Dr. Harlan, there's a man here. Says he's family of one of your patients." "Urgent." I stepped out, expecting a worried parent. But it was Robert Hayes, Cameron's father, looming in the waiting room like a thundercloud in flannel. Mid-50s, grizzled beard, eyes bloodshot from more than fatigue. "You the shrink," he growled, voice carrying that Jersey gravel. I nodded warily, ushering him to a consult room. "Mr. Hayes, how can I cut the crap? I know about you and my boy." He slapped a printout on the desk, a screenshot of Cameron's Instagram story from the premiere, a blurry shot of us in the lobby, my arm around his waist. Caption, "Best night ever, Red Heart." My stomach plummeted. Public. Out there for the world, and his father to dissect. "It's not what you think," I stammered. But he barreled on, face purple with rage. "You're screwing him. A doctor? Preying on my kid when he's messed up? I ought to call the cops. Ruin you." Spit flew. Veins bulging. I stood, heart pounding, invoking protocol. "Sir, patient confidentiality." "Confidential my ass. He's throwing his life away for some fairy tale with you." I cut him off. "Tuition. Everything. But you'll lose your license. Your fancy degree. Back off, or I'll make sure everyone knows what a pervert you are." The door flew open mid-tirade, nurses peering in, scandalized. I escorted him out, hands shaking, assurances spilling like oil on water. "I'll handle this. For Cameron's sake." But as he stormed off, flipping me the bird, dread settled like lead. Betrayal, not Cameron's, but mine, for letting it get this far. I texted Cameron, "We need to talk. Now." He replied instantly, "Your place?" When he arrived, windswept and oblivious, I showed him the screenshot. His face drained of color. "Oh God." I posted it without thinking, after the high of the screening. Thought it was just for my close friends list. It wasn't. Now his father knew, and worse, so might the board. "We have to stop," I said, voice cracking. "This it's destroying you. The money, the exposure. I can't be the villain in your story." His eyes widened, hurt blooming like ink in water. "Stop. After everything, you're the one thing that's real. Joseph. The one person who sees me." Tears welled, but anger followed, sharp as glass. "Is this about him? Your dad issues? Or are you just like every other guy? Runs when it gets hard?" The accusation stung, echoing Mark's parting shot. "It's about protecting you. From lawsuits. From heartbreak. From me." I paced, the room suffocating. "I transferred the money today, full tuition. Consider it paid in full. Walk away clean." He recoiled as if slapped. "So that's it? Buy me off? I thought this was love, not a transaction." He grabbed his coat, voice rising. "You're a coward. Dr. Harlan. Hiding behind your white coat while the world burns." The door slammed, final as a guillotine. I sank to the floor, sobs racking me for the first time since Dad's funeral. Love? It was a lie we'd both told. A beautiful delusion crumbling under scrutiny. But in the wreckage, a deeper truth emerged. I'd fallen, irrevocably, and letting go felt like amputation. Days blurred into a fog of work, double shifts, avoiding mirrors that reflected hollow cheeks. Cameron didn't return my calls. His socials gone silent. Emily texted, "What's wrong, bro? You sound like death." I ignored it, burying myself in journals on countertransference, as if theory could cauterize the wound. Then the call came, shattering the numbness. Unknown number, but Cameron's voice. Fractured. "Joseph? It's bad. Dad, I need you." I drove like a man possessed through the snarl of midtown traffic, wipers slashing at the relentless January rain that turned taillights into smeared accusations. Cameron's call had been a gasp of desperation. The Bowery, near the shelter. He's drunk. Please, before cutting to static. My mind raced through horrors, violence, overdose, the bridge he died that night. I grabbed keys without thought. Ethics be damned, doctor or lover. I was his lifeline now. The Bowery at dusk was a grim tableau, neon flickering over pawn shops and soup kitchens, the air thick with exhaust and despair. I spotted him under a dripping awning. Cameron hunched against a chain-link fence, arms wrapped around himself like he could hold the pieces together. Beside him, Robert Hayes swayed, bottle in hand, slurring invectives that carried on the wind. Useless. Just like your mother. Faggot mistake. Rage ignited. White hot. I pulled up, tires screeching, and bolted out. Get away from him. My voice boomed, uncharacteristically fierce. The Ohio farm boy surfacing through the polish. Robert turned, bleary eyes narrowing. You. The quack. Come to finish what you started. Cameron looked up, relief warring with shame in his gaze. Joseph, go. This isn't, but I was already there, inserting myself between them, shoulder to Robert's chest. You're done here. Walk away, or I call the cops. Up close. He reeked of bourbon and regret, his frame sagging under years of bad choices. For a moment, he loomed, fist half raised, and I braced, memories of Dad's belt flashing, the sting of man up. Boy, then something shifted in his eyes, defeat, or maybe recognition. You think you're saving him? He's poison. Drag me down once, won't again. He staggered back, bottle clinking against the fence, and lurched into the rain, vanishing into the gloom like a bad dream. Cameron collapsed against me, sobs muffled in my coat. I'm sorry. He showed up at the dorm, ranting about the photo. I tried to talk him down, but he hit me. He pulled up his sleeve, revealing a purpled bruise blooming on his forearm, fingers worth of grip marks. My stomach twisted. Why didn't you call sooner? Pride. Thought I could handle it. Like always, we stood there, rain soaking us through, the city indifferent as ever. I bundled him into the car, cranking the heat, and drove to my place in silence, his head lolling against the window in exhaustion. Once inside, I patched him up, ice for the arm, tea laced with honey, the motions mechanical yet intimate. He watched me, eyes shadowed. You didn't have to come. After what I said, yes, I did. I sat beside him on the couch, our first real touch since the fight, hand over his, steadying. Cameron, this, whatever it is, it's not a game. Your safety matters more than my fears. He turned, vulnerability cracking open. Then why push me away? That money. It felt like goodbye. Tears spilled anew. I love you, Joseph. Not the doctor, the man who listens like I'm the only story worth telling. The confession hung, raw and real. I pulled him close, arms encircling the warmth I'd missed like air. I love you too. Terrified me, still does. But seeing you out there, I'd burn it all down before letting you face that alone. We talked till dawn, unraveling the knots, the screenshot, my cowardice, his father's poison seeping into doubts. He's not wrong, Cameron admitted, voice small. About the future. What if I drag you under? Your job, your life. My life was half lived before you. I kissed his forehead, chaste but charged, a seal on the vow. We'll figure it. Together, optimism bloomed, fragile as crocuses under snow. The next week, he moved in temporarily, officially subletting my spare room for plausible deniability, but really to heal the bruise and the deeper wounds. Mornings became ours, coffee on the fire escape, watching the sun gild the Hudson. his head on my shoulder as we planned. He re-enrolled for spring. I referred him to a colleague for independent therapy, closing the professional loop with a heavy heart but clear conscience. Yet shadows persisted. Robert didn't vanish. Voicemails escalated to emails, threats of exposure, pleas for intervention. Get him straight, Doc, or I'll go public. I saved them, building a paper trail, consulting a lawyer friend on the sly. Defamation suit if he talks, she advised over dim sum in Chinatown. But better to de-escalate. Offer a meeting. I did. Neutral ground, a coffee shop in Neutral Jersey. Robert arrived hungover, but civil, nursing a black drip like it was penance. Look, Harlan, he started, surprising me with coherence. I ain't proud. Lost my way after Lisa, Cameron's mom. Drugs, booze, the works. Rehab's kicking my ass. But seeing him like this, with you, it kills me. It's not a phase, I said evenly, channeling every sensitivity training. Cameron is who he is, brilliant, resilient. And our relationship, it's consensual, adult. Threatening it won't change him. It'll just break what's left of your bond. He deflated, staring into his cup. I just want him safe. Not like me, scraping by. Alone, a crack in the armor, vulnerability mirroring his son's. Tell him, I'm sorry. For the photo, the words. Trying to fix it wrong. I related that night. Cameron listening with wary hope. Think it's real, he asked, curled against me on the couch. A bad rom-com, flickering ignored on TV. Maybe. People change or want to, like me, shedding the fear that had armored my heart. We made love to the decision, not bodies, but souls, slow dances in the kitchen to jazz on vinyl. Sketches of our hands intertwined framed on the fridge. It felt like home, this patchwork life we'd stitched from scraps. But climax brewed in unexpected quarters. February brought the ethics board summons, a formal inquiry, anonymous complaint alleging inappropriate involvement with a patient. My blood ran cold. Robert? A jealous colleague? The letter cited observed public affection and financial entanglement, demanding records. Interviews. Panic clawed, revocation loomed. The end of my practice. My purpose. I told Cameron over takeout Thai, his fork pausing midair. What now, he whispered, fear etching lines too young for his face. Fight it. Truce on our side. We ended the therapeutic relationship before anything personal. But doubt gnawed, the blurred timeline, the money trail. If it goes south, I might have to leave. New city, new start. His grip tightened. Then we go together. Road trip Kerouac style. California. Maybe. Palm trees and reinvention. The image steadied me. Us in a convertible, wind-tousled, free. But reality intruded. Emily called the next day. Voice urgent. Joey. Dad's sick. Heart scare. Docs say it's bad. He mentioned you. Come home. The pull tore at me. Family. The original wound. Tell him I'm coming, I said, booking a flight to Cleveland. Cameron insisted on tagging along. Your fight's mine now. Ohio in winter was a study in gray, flat fields under leaden skies. The Harlan farmhouse sagging like old regrets. Dad greeted us at the door. Thinner, grayer, but eyes softening at the sight of me, and Cameron, hand in mine. Who's this? He rasped. No venom, just curiosity. My partner, I said, chin lifted. The word landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading. Mom hovered in the kitchen, dish rag twisting, but Emily hugged us both, whispering, about time. Dinner was a minefield, small talk skirting politics. Dad's health, my fancy New York life. Then, over pie, he cleared his throat. Heard rumors. About. You too. From a friend. Saw something online. Cameron tensed beside me. But Dad pressed on. Am I placed to judge? Lost too much already. Just. Be happy. Son. That's all a father wants. Tears pricked. Forgiveness. Unearned but offered. We stayed a week. Mending fences. Cameron charming Emily with film stories. Helping Dad in the garage with model planes from my childhood. It felt like absolution. A humanistic pivot. Love, not as battle, but bridge. Back in Manhattan. Boyd. We faced the board hearing. I lawyered up. Presented timelines. Character witnesses. Emily flying in. Cameron testifying to our post-therapy bond. The panel deliberated. Tension coiling like a spring. Then the verdict cleared, with a stern warning and mandated supervision. Relief crashed over us like waves. We celebrated on the High Line at sunset, city sprawling golden below, his hand in mine, public, unashamed. But betrayal's shadow lingered, darker than before. Spring unfurled in the city like a hesitant promise, cherry blossoms dusting Washington Square Park, the air alive with possibility and the faint tang of renewal. Cameron's film garnered festival buzz, a shortlist for Sundance that had him buzzing with that rare, unguarded joy. We did it, he'd say, pulling me into spontaneous spins on our fire escape, laughter echoing off brick walls. Our life settled into a rhythm, mornings tangled in sheets. Him editing at the kitchen table while I prepped patient notes, evenings wandering Greenwich Village, hand in hand past rainbow flags that fluttered like affirmations. The board's shadow faded, replaced by cautious optimism. I resumed full practice, even mentored a resident on ethical gray areas, irony not lost. Robert reached out sporadically, a hesitant text on Cameron's birthday. Proud of you, kid. Call sometime. Flowers for our anniversary that arrived and signed, but scented with regret. Cameron kept them, a tentative olive branch. People can change, he echoed my words, and I believed it, seeing the man I'd become, softer edges. Heart cracked, open to light. Yet depth demands reckoning, and ours came in layers peeled slow. One night in April, post-screening party at a Soho loft. Cameron vanished into the crowd. Networking, he said, but returned glassy-eyed, breath sour with gin. Old habit, he muttered, waving it off. Just wanted to celebrate. I didn't press, but worry seeded. His dreams returned, fire, consumption, waking him in sweats. My arms his anchor. It's nothing, he'd insist, but the sketches shifted, figures engulfed, reaching futilely. Therapy helped, his new shrink pronounced progress, but I saw the strain, the way he'd flinch at mirrors. Tracing bruises long faded. The misunderstanding that nearly undid us brewed from that fracture. They brought a heat wave, air thick as regret, and with it, a job offer for Cameron, assistant editor on an indie feature in L.A., 6 months, potential for more. It's huge, he enthused over rooftop beers, skyline twinkling like approval. My big break, pride swelled, but under it, fear slithered. Distance? After everything? Go, I said, forcing smile. You deserve it. But nights after, doubts whispered. Would absence amplify cracks? Was I holding him back? A tether to Manhattan's grind? He sensed it, confronting me in our sunlit bedroom. Packed suitcase by the door. You're doing it again, pulling away. Like with the money, the hearing. What's the real secret? Joseph? Afraid I'll outgrow you. The accusation lanced deep, echoing Dad's old taunts. Don't get soft. Boy, I paced, words tumbling. It's not that. It's Mark, my ex. He left for a fellowship in Boston, said I was stagnant, too rooted in routine. I see you. Cameron, wild, talented, and think, what if I'm the anchor sinking your ship? He stilled, hurt flickering. Mark was an asshole. And you're not stagnant, you're steady. My steady, but doubt lingered. A third wheel in our bed. He left the next morning, kiss lingering like goodbye. Promise of FaceTime, our fragile thread. L.A. Suited him, palm-fringed selfies. Tales of starlit cameos. The industry hum fueling his fire. Calls were daily at first. Miss your coffee breath, he'd tease. Voice sun-warmed. But weeks stretched. Time zones gnawing, my evenings his afternoons. Exhaustion fraying edges. Then the lulls. Missed calls. Vague text swamped on set. Love you. Paranoia bloomed. Irrational but insistent. Was there someone else? A director with chiseled abs and Hollywood gloss? The climax crashed in June. A Saturday scorched by doubt. No call. By midnight, desperation peaked. I dialed. Voicemail my enemy. A frantic Uber to JFK. Red eye to LAX. Impulsive. Unhinged. I crashed his hotel unannounced. Heart in throat. Knocking like judgment. He opened the door. Bleary in boxers. Confusion morphing to shock. Joseph? What the? Behind him. The room, script strewn. Empty bottles. And, God, a man on the bed. Tousled hair. Bare chest. Not naked, but intimate. The air thick with implication. Time halted. Cameron's face crumpled. It's not. Dave's my roommate on set. We were celebrating a wrap. Crashed here. Nothing happened, but the image seared betrayal's echo. Mark's ghost resurrected. Rage. Hurt. Flooded. Roommate? At midnight. Half-dressed? You think I'm blind? Words lashed. Unfiltered. I flew across the country because you ghosted me. And this is what I find. He recoiled, eyes flashing. Ghosted? I've been buried in edits, 12-hour days. And you show up like a stalker. Assuming the worst? After all we've built, Dave slunk out, mumbling apologies, leaving us raw. Cameron grabbed his phone, thrusting texts at me, frantic check-ins I'd missed in my haze. See, I tried. But you never trust. Always waiting for the fall. The truth hit like monsoon. My fear. Not his infidelity. The villain. I'm sorry, I choked, sinking to the carpet. It's me. The scars, Dad. Mark. The board. I sabotaged because losing you. It's my nightmare. He knelt, tears mirroring mine. Then stopped running. I'm here. Always. We clung. The misunderstanding a purge. Fire-consuming dross. Leaving embers. Dave's betrayal was illusion. But forced confrontation, my walls. His isolation in the spotlight. LA's temporary, he vowed. We finished this together. We did, him wrapping the film. Me subletting my apartment for a month-long visit. Days blurred into collaboration. Me proofreading scripts. Him dragging me to Santa Monica Pier at dawn. Waves crashing like catharsis. One evening, under star-pricked skies, he proposed, not rings, but futures. Move with me? Half time here. Half New York. No more lines to blur. I said yes. The word a key unlocking chains. Betrayal's sting faded. Replaced by depth. Love is choice. Renewed daily. Back in Manhattan by July. Life wove onward. Cameron's film won a Sundance. Us on stage. Hand clasped. Cheers a bomb. Robert attended the NYC screening. Sober 6 months. Hugging his son with gruff pride. You made something real. Kid. Dad sent a card from Ohio. Proud. Bring him next Thanksgiving. Emily officiated a low-key commitment ceremony in Central Park. Vows exchanged under that same autumn tree from our dreams. now leafed in summer green. The ending wasn't fairy tale flawless. Conflicts lingered. My supervision ended with a promotion, but anxiety nipped to heels. Cameron's dreams still flickered. Therapy, a lifelong companion. Yet in the humanism of it, the messy grace of two men choosing each other amid ruins, we found redemption. Not perfection, but presence. Hands intertwined against the skyline. Fire tamed a hearth. Years later, in our Brooklyn brownstone, adopted rescue dog at our feet. His Oscar on the mantle. I'd catch Cameron watching me. That same searching gaze from the exam room. Still blurring lines, he'd tease. Every day, I'd reply, pulling him close. And I'd cross them all again. For in love's drama, the greatest climax isn't the fall, but the rising, phoenix strong, unapologetically us.